Here we have a little more complex file that we're going to clean up. We've opened the file, we've loaded the image, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate colors. Now in separating colors, we're going to do this manually rather than automatic. You can see we start out with black and white. The white box with a line through it is our background color. And so we're going to start, we've got black in here, and we're going to add this red and the burgundy. Now we have this gray background, which could be a colored paper, could be a shirt or whatever. We don't want to trace that background, so I'm going to come over here and select this first box with the line through it, which is our background. I'm going to use my eyedropper tool and click on the gray, so we've added the gray into the background. So when we process the image, it's going to eliminate all that gray and convert everything to black, red, and burgundy. Okay, we have converted the image to pure color. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create vectors. Now, as we click create vectors, we're tracing just to the default settings. Everything is set at 0. We could go through and retrace different elements, different settings, but that's really not going to give us a very good trace anyway, because bad quality images always trace poorly. And so we're going to use our cleanup tools to begin cleaning up this graphic. First I'm going to start with our text tool. So I'm going to click on the text tool. And with the text tool selected, I'm going to just draw a box around the word graphic tracer. I come over here to our font eye tool, click on that, and you can see it's not straight line text. We're going to use the drop down, and we're going to come down to circular arc, where graphic tracer automatically recalculates the baseline for this graphic, and I can grab that baseline and tweak it just a little bit so it's just at the bottom edge of the letters. Once I've made sure my baseline is set correctly, I click Next. And Graphic Tracer then, optical character recognition, tries to identify what letters are it's going to be looking for. The first one, it says a D. That's not a D. That's actually a capital G. I'm going to step it to the next letter using my Tab key. I'm going to type in an R. And the A is correct, the P is correct, the H is correct, the I is correct, the C is correct, T, R, A, C, E, and R. So everything is, the rest of it is correct. Once I've confirmed everything, I'm going to come over and I'm going to click Next in the font type box. By clicking Next, Graphic Tracer is now going to search its online database plus all of my own font collections, looking to identify that font. And you can see it found the font correctly as we look. That looks like a good match. It superimposes it right on top of my graphic. I come over here, this happens to be a font I own, so it's in green, and I could scroll down again looking for different fonts. Here we have, if I didn't have any of those fonts, we've got Bolster, we've got Bolt. If I click on the vectorized shapes, now in this particular font, if I didn't own that font, I could replace with those vectorized shapes, like so. I just click Replace, and we've automatically cleaned up that text in that upper box. Now I cleaned that up with vectorized shapes rather than the text. I'm going to come down because we have the same font at the bottom here. I'm going to draw a box around those fonts by selecting that. I'm going to come to Identify Font and Replace. Now you can see here we've picked up some of these letters from the other text. I don't want those in this search, so I'm going to come hold my Shift key down, and by clicking on each of these letters that I don't want, it removes it from my screen. So by clicking on each of the elements here, I'm taking those out because I want to search only this text down at the bottom here. So I'm going to come back over here. It's not straight line text. I'm going to click Circular Arc, where it recalculates the baseline of that text. I'm going to click Next, and then I want to confirm that Graphic Tracer is looking for the right letters. The B is correct, the Y is correct. That is not a D, that's a capital G. And that is not an A, that's an R. So I need to correct that. A, P, H, I, C, P, that's not a D, that's an O. W, E, that's not an H, that's a capital R. And this is not a number 5, that is an S. Now, once I've associated all the letters, if I click Next, it's going to search again, or I can come over here to my last search, and I click on that, and you can see it puts the text right on top, and you can see I can replace. Now last time I replaced with the vector shapes, You can replace with anything in the box that's green or gold. So I'm just going to choose the bolt, and we're going to just replace that text like so. And I've cleaned up that text on the bottom there. Next, I'm going to choose, with my text tool selected, I'm going to choose the tracing, editing, and font identification. This text here, I click identify font and replace. The baseline is correct, so I click next. And now I want to confirm the letters T, H, E. These are capitals. T, R, A, C, I, N, G. It's not sure what this is, so I need to tell that's a comma. E, D, I, T, I, N, G, and we're going to come over here. F, O, N, T, I, D, E, N, T, I, F, I, C, A, T, I, O, N. Everything looks good. So I'm going to click next, and Graphic Tracer is going to go through and it's going to search looking for that particular font. And in just a moment, we'll have some results. Now, when we get done here, you can see the text that superimposes on top of here, and you can see that is not the correct font. If I scroll down, looking at different fonts, by just clicking down here, you can see we are not coming up with a font that is a match. Though I could replace with anything that's in the green over here if I could not find the right font, but I'm going to dig a little bit deeper, because this font may have been distorted. As we look at it, a common distortion is stretching. So I'm going to come up here next. I'm going to click this box that says try stretching right here, and we're going to search again and see if we can come up with a closer match. So as Graphic Tracer quickly searches through its online database and all of my own font collections, and we'll get a new search here, and you can see now that is the correct font. You can look, it's a very nice font. The ampersand and everything is correct. As I scroll down, it's Bitstream Vera Sans. It's downloaded. It was compressed 47%. And I can scroll down farther. You can see Deja Vu Sans Bold, Deja Vu. Those are both fonts, two different names, Vera Sans and Deja Vu. Prima Sans is also a matching font. You can see here that particular font is installed on my computer. And as I scroll down farther, you can see there's many now. The ampersand is different, though the rest of the text is fairly close. And if this was the only font that I had, I could probably replace that with that font and then kind of modify that ampersand. But I'm just going to come up and we're going to take one of the fonts that showed up at the beginning here. We'll take that top one. I click replace, and you can see it automatically compressed and replace that text. It's even in the correct color in here, so it replaced that text all in one operation very quickly. I didn't have to install a font. Because it was a font that I owned, it went ahead and replaced it automatically. I'm going to do the same thing for this Perfect Graphics Fast, and we're going to take that. I'm going to go to Identify Font and Replace. Now here we've got some of the other text that I don't want, so I'm going to hold my Shift key down and click on these elements that we want to remove from our search, because that's only going to throw our font search off. So I click on each of these elements right here. Now this is not straight line text. I need to make an adjustment here, so I'm going to use my drop down, and we're going to come over to angled text, where you can see it recalculates the baseline. And I click next, and I want to check my letters here. P-E-R-F-E-C-T. That is not a 6. That is a capital G. R-A-P-H. Now that is not a lowercase l, that's a capital I, so I need to change that, and you can tell because of the Shift key, C-S-F-A-S-T. Now I believe this might be the same font that we had up above there, so I'm going to go to my last search, and you can see, it is a matching font. If I need to adjust anything, I could click on a letter, and I can use just the nudge keys on my keyboard and kind of nudge it into place. I could also adjust the stretch slightly if I wanted to by clicking on that, and you can see it makes it, we can fine tune that just a little bit, and I'm going to move that, just nudge that up a little bit to make it match up with the letters in the background, and we'll take that C, and again we're just going to nudge that back just a little bit, and I click replace, and we have very quickly replaced this text right here, right where it's supposed to go. So we've replaced this font, these here, we just have the power tool font, and so I am going to just marquee around the word power, and we'll do an identification on that. Identify font and replace. Now I'm going to take out, hold my shift key down, take out the center of this here, and we're going to take this out right here, and we will then click next. We've got the P, that's not a capital D, that is a capital O, W, E, R. I come over and I click next. The graphic tracer search for that font, and here you can see the font is called Batman Forever. It is a font that I own, so I'm going to click replace, and we'll quickly replace that text. We'll do the same thing with this font right here. I'll just click on that, hold my shift key down, and we're going to click on each of these letters like so, selecting those, identify font and replace, and I'm going to click next, and T, and we're going to hit the O, tab it over to the next letter, O-L. The last search we found was the Batman font, and so if I want to adjust that and make it a little bit closer, I can check that, just adjusting those letters just a little bit, and I click replace. Okay, we've replaced all the fonts in our graphic. I'm just going to take the power, I'm holding my shift key down, we're going to select the two words power tools. You can see by these little nodes here that I have selected all of the graphics of that, and we're going to clean up this contour, because if you look in close you can see that the contour is not perfect. It's still a little bit rough, so Graphic Tracer has the ability to recalculate the contours. So I'm going to come over here to replace objects, and I'm going to replace contour, and it's calculated this outside contour, pointed corners. I'm going to click on this remove old contour, because we want it to take out the old contour and replace it with the new. Now I can see that I have lost that top one, so I'm going to hold my shift key down and click on that again, so I'll make sure I have those two words selected together. I'm going to do a preview, and you can see here how the red is the recalculated contour and the gray is my traced contour, and I'm going to make that a little bit larger. So I'm, instead of 0.09, I'm going to do a 0.1, and we'll preview that again, and that is a little bit closer, but maybe I should just drop it down and just go 0.9095, and we'll preview that again, and you can see, that's much closer. I can tweak that just to be where I want it to be, and when I click on apply, it's going to take out the old contour and put in a nice recalculated new contour right in its place. Now I'm going to replace this contour here, the black contour, and notice the red contour stayed red, and so I'm going to come over here to 0.18, and we'll preview that again, and you can see how that is contoured around there. I guess it's increase that a little bit more. Let's go to 0.2 and preview, and now that's a little bit too big, I guess, so we're going to go to 0.19. Preview that again, and that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply, and we have just recalculated both of those contours and replace them. Next is here, I'm going to come over here to my adjust shapes, and as we clean this up, you can see this area point here is not perfect, so I'm just going to choose those nodes, and we're going to come over here to convert to a corner. You can see a little preview in the screen there as to what it's going to do, so I'm going to click on that. Now if I hold my spacebar down, you can see the original bitmap in the background. So by holding that down, I'm just going to grab that point and bring that in right to there. I'm going to double click on this line right here and make a straight line out of it. If I want that to be a horizontal line, I can convert that to a perfect horizontal line. I'm going to make this into a straight line. That corner looks pretty good, but I could select those nodes and we can convert those nodes to a nice smooth curve. We'll make this into a straight line, and that looks good. Let's take these chevrons here and quickly clean these chevrons up. We'll take those nodes right there and we'll make those into a corner. And we'll take these nodes right here and we'll make those into a corner. We'll just make these into straight lines, like so. Okay, now once we have cleaned up this one chevron right here, with that selected, I'm going to come to replace objects. We're going to use copy shape to an object, and I'm going to use that tool to clean up that chevron and that chevron right there. We will go back through and clean up each of these areas here. I'm going to take and select that corner right there, and we'll convert those to a corner and make this a straight line. And we'll make that a straight line and that a straight line, and choose those right there and convert that to a corner. Now there is a keyboard shortcut as well. If I just choose those and hit the P key on my keyboard, I can very quickly go around and clean up these corners like so. And just double click on each of these lines, making them straight lines. And come through, double click on each of those, make that into a nice corner, and we'll take that and drag that back right to there. Double click on that and make that into a straight line. And if I come back through on this and choose all of those nodes right there, we can make those into a smooth curve. Choosing that node and that node selects all the nodes in between. We'll hit the L on our keyboard, make a nice straight line there, and we'll make a nice straight line over here. If I want to make that a vertical line, I just right click my mouse and click on there, and that makes that a vertical line. All we have left is this last little, oh actually we've got the two up top. I didn't do that either, so we're going to quickly go through and clean this up. I'm just selecting those corners and hitting the P on my keyboard to make that into a point or make that into a corner. And we will do the same with that node selected. Hold my control button down and choose there. I double click and it chooses the nodes go in the opposite direction. And we'll make those into an arc by clicking over here, convert to an arc. And we'll do the same thing here with that node and this node over here, and we'll make that into an arc. And we'll do the same thing up at this end. We'll make that into a corner, make that into a straight line. We'll choose that node there and that node there, and we're going to make that into an arc. And we'll choose this node right here, hold my control button down, and this node here. Now it's selected all the nodes this way. I click on that again and it chooses them the opposite direction, and we'll make that into a arc as well. I do see we have the stars left to clean up here, so we're going to zoom in on these stars and we're going to just clean one of them up. I'm going to click on the adjust shapes where I can see one of the stars, and I'm just going to clean up half of this star. You can see if I hold my space bar down, you can see my original bitmap in the background. So with half of that star cleaned up, I'm going to choose just this good half right here, and with half of that selected, I'm going to mirror that horizontally like so, and use that to clean up the other half of the star. And then having one star cleaned up, I'm going to come over here to my replace objects, where I'm going to copy the shape to the object, and with that shape selected, I'm just going to come through and click on each of these other stars like so. By taking that one star, I've cleaned up each of those stars, and you can see right now that they're all perfect. They're all like the one I've cleaned up. At this point, our graphic is complete. If I want to see how it compares to my original, I hold my space bar down, or I can come over here to view and view it as a bitmap, where you can see my vectors right on top of my bitmap. I've got a nice perfectly cleaned up vector image, which I can now resize it and use it in virtually any application. My exports are EPS, AI, DXF, PLT, SVG, or I can click link, hit my save button, and click link it to directly into an open window of CorelDRAW, Illustrator, or SignCut. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope this helps you become more proficient in Graphic Tracer.